Okay, I've been approached about several different techniques that I have for polishing my blades. I've talked about my hybrid polish. I also do what's called a traditional Japanese style polish. I mean, I'm not a professional at it, but nonetheless I do try to attempt it. This is a Wakizashi that I am working on right now. If you can see the Shinogi and the Shinogi G right here. Okay, my Shinogi G is fairly crisp. Okay, and basically what I'm doing is I'm using it on Japanese waterstones as I go right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my little techniques that I use, which aren't that drastic or extreme. Just simple. It's just simple, real basic stuff. I myself have been several years trying to keep my Shinogi G as crisp as possible, and like you, Chris, I have the same problem. I'll roll over that Shinogi and I'll make it dull. So the biggest thing I'm trying to do now is set the geometry with the stones. Okay, then after I use the stones, I'll go over and I want to start using my polishing pads. I'm going to modify some, and I'm going to make some out of a solid material that will mimic the stones, but I'll be using my hands when I do it. So when I get to that point, then I will shoot some video on that. For right now, I'm going to show you what I'm doing right now with the stones. And right now, I'm also trying to set, if you can see, trying to set the actual edge geometry. Okay, whether you know it or not, the edge actually has to be just as straight as the rest of the blade. If there's a wave in the blade, you could end up cracking or warping your blade when you strike the tatami mat. So you got to be careful. You got to make sure that the edge is perfectly straight as you work down it. So let's get to that. Okay, in case some of you haven't noticed it by now, it's freezing in my shop right now. It's probably about 45 degrees. I have kerosene heater and my toaster oven running right now, but it's still pretty cold in here. So I have to heat my water just so I'm not freezing my hands off. I soaked my stones for about 30 minutes. Well, actually probably about an hour today. Okay, and I go through and I trim them up. I went out and bought just a regular flat grindstone. This is a real coarse stone, and I use it to go over my blades, my stones, like so. And the reason why I do this is it actually produces a pretty flat surface for me to work with, which is what you need to maintain a positive polishing area. So I'll go over this every couple of strokes, put it back in the tub, wet it, wipe it off. Okay, now if you can see, I've already got some area polished up to about here. Okay, so I'm working my way up, setting my edge. Okay, so dabble a little bit of water. I rock it back and forth to feel where my blade is at. I use the whole stone. I'll start from one end. Gotta be careful, you gotta watch slipping off of there because you will cut yourself. And I work my way up. Okay, once I've done that, I come dabble some water on it, check the blade, and I can see where I've actually been polishing. Okay, so clean your stone off. Okay, I am approaching my Shinogi G line here, so my goal is to keep going. It's little baby steps is what it amounts to. That's all it is, just little baby steps. Okay, all right. I'm getting pretty close. Almost got them all erased up to that point. Now at this point in the game, you will start to see the Hammond. I don't know if I can make it where you can see it, but it is there, and we've got to go. Now a safety thing here is just what happened here when I I drew back on the blade, overslipped, and came in. You got to be careful because you are holding the blade in your hand. This, my left hand, just barely, all it is just a pressure on the blade. This hand right here actually holds the blade, so I'm kind of have to be conscious of where I'm holding it at all times. The Japanese use a piece of cloth to go around it, and then this hand here, no matter where it's at, they never really have a true grip on it. Okay, this is the hand that actually has the grip, your right hand, unless you're left-handed, which I wouldn't know how you would. Well, it should be the same regardless. The key is keeping your stone flat, keeping it wet. Okay, that's why they're called water stones. You submerge them in water, they fill with water and impregnate themselves with water. Creates a lubricant as you go across this stone. Okay, so I'm going to progress a little bit more, and then I'll stop and we'll move, and I'll go on and we'll move on to the next polishing stone. Oh, I put baking soda in my water to keep rust from getting on my blade. Okay, because rust will form on these blades rather quickly if you're not careful. So just remember, a little bit of baking soda goes a long way. Okay, as you can see, I have polished a good portion of the blade. You should be able to see the hammer pretty well. Okay, right now I'm working on the Wakizashi area, which is this area right up through here. Got to be real careful that you don't roll over the Shinogi G. Okay, so again, I'm going to be working here all the way up through here, making it nice and crisp as I go. Okay, how I do it, I just do like traditional Japanese do. I lay the blade there, feel where my edge is, hold it loosely back here, hold it loosely back here, so it's kind of like a pivot. Okay, so then I'll just start going. I rock up a little bit so I can get to the very tip, and then I go up and down the stone. I keep forward pressure with my thumb this way, okay? So as I go, I'm keeping forward pressure, so I'm keeping my flats flat. Okay, and so as you can see, my Shinogi G is rather nice and crisp. The Wakizashi area, which is up through here, okay, that area is nice. I got just a few more scratches that I got to take out from about here to here. So, okay. While I'm doing this, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing as far as feeling the stone. Okay? The stone will tell you when it's starting to get too much of a slurry and when it's starting to get too loaded. Okay? Some scratches are leaving pretty quickly. You can't really see them here, but they are leaving. Okay? And right now, this tip area is really sharp. So you got to be really careful. Okay? It's real careful. Alright? I don't have an ultra point on it yet, but I will. Okay, so I still got a few more scratches to take out. They're right up here. Okay, so I'm going to use that to round up the Shinogi G, and then there's a few scratches right here and right here. All right. Okay, as you can see, I have finished polishing with the 220 grit stone on this side of the blade. Okay, I did a light etch so you could see the Hammond. You can see it there. Okay. You can see where the rollback is. It's right here. It's a nice rollback. Comes right back up through there. Okay, and then you can see the Hammond in all of its glory. Okay. Now I'm working on this side. I've pretty much got the Ha side of the. This is the Shinogi. This is the Ha. Okay. I'm working on the Wakizashi area right now. My ultimate goal is to keep the geometry of the blade as crisp as possible. Okay, so this Shinogi is a little bit more narrow than over here, this is what I want. I want it to widen it out just a little bit so it tapers in a little bit more up here. Okay, here it's about the same width all the way up and down. So what I'm going to do is when I polish it, it's going to widen itself out just a little bit, and I'm going to maintain an adequate ridge line all the way up and down. Okay, so I'm going to continue working on the Wakizashi here, then I'm going to finish polishing the Shinogi G area, okay, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the results when I'm done.